by the hour.
Mike Griffith, Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Coach, you've dominated the SEC like few others. I think that's the first time you lost to an SEC team in the tournament. I think you've won 7 out of the last 9 that you played them in the regular season. What would you say about that league and Bruce Pearl? You know, you ran into him when he was in Tennessee as well.
I mean, the league's been great all year. It's there's no question about it. I mean, they had the top teams. They competed every week against each other. I think it's amazing that they were pick 1 in the country, I think, early, and they survived most of the year, and they went through a little bit of a down spout there, and part of it was Broome was hurt there for a little bit. I think they had one other kid out for a while, but we did most of the things we wanted to do except guard Broome a little bit better. It wasn't the points he scored that got us. We're used to giving up points and making sure they don't get threes. A pretty good three-point shooting team. We held them to 28%. It was just, he was 10 for 13. That's why he's an All-American. That's why he's a Player of the Year candidate. And, did a hell of a job. But I thought that stretch early, they went on a 17-0, and we just turned the ball over, and it's been a problem for us a little bit. Not the turnovers. We had 9 for the game, which is phenomenal against a team like this. But it was in the spurts that we had them. And, boy, that stretch we had at the beginning. At one time, we had 4 or 5 offensive rebounds and kicked it out and had shot after shot after shot. They just didn't go in, and that happens. And so I'd say Bruce has done a great job because it's hard to keep a team, as I remember back to those days, from start to finish. The fans were great today. I mean, I don't think it affected us, and I say that because we've played in some of the greatest venues and but they were great. I mean, they were great, but I don't think that's why we lost. I think we lost because they played better than we did. They didn't shoot so well. 42, but that includes his 10 for 13. So the rest of the guys, we did a good enough job on. We just didn't score it enough ourselves, and we didn't. The turnovers were in critical times that led to layups.
Down front here on the right, first row.
Robbie Listella, Bracketeer.org. Tom, I spoke with Jaden, Jace, and Cohen yesterday, and whether it was Jaden with his injury, Jace as a freshman, or Cohen getting his first start in the Sweet 16, they all said that your trust in them helped them gain confidence. What is it like been helping them grow in their game, and is that something you'd agree with?
Oh, yeah, it's the greatest. I mean, the greatest thing is players coming back, but the second greatest thing is watch people trying to reach the goals. I always tell them you got to dream it, and they dreamed it early. You got to work for it and have a goal, and they had the goal, and today they lived the reality of it, and they were, I mean, it wasn't like the game was that close that we felt like we could have won it. I think we felt like we should have won it because we didn't. Could have won it. I think we could have. And yet, you never know, man. You never know if you get another chance. And I think that's the hardest thing when you're talking to a team after, you just want to say, remember this moment so next year, because Cleve's taught me that, and some other guys, you start somewhere and you get to a Sweet 16. Next year was Final Four. Next year you won it. The problem is you got some guys that don't get that extra chance, so it's hard to say that in the locker room. It's a really unnerving thing, but all in all, I mean, God, it's going to be really hard to beat the connectivity and the camaraderie of this team. And we were young, I mean, we more or less started 2 freshmen, and our 2 guards were freshmen. So, we got some work to do yet, but I love the guys I got in that locker room.
We've got less than a minute, so let's take this question, and that'll be it.
Coach Jonathan Schaaf, Spartan Nation, Spartans on SI. You talked about this team coming a long way. What are some of the things your staff, the team did to really make that curve? Because not all of your teams you felt like you've been able to pull as much out of as this one.
Yeah, there's no question. This was probably the number one. But as far as pulling out what I thought when we left this building against Kansas back in November, I think it was. You know, there were a lot of questions in a lot of people's minds, but some in mine. And I thought my staff did an incredible job. My trainers, I mean, we had no injuries all year. I think part of that was playing a lot of people and not wearing people down, but I also, it's not easy to play a lot of people. It's not easy to accept it as a player, and it's not easy to do it as a coach. And I felt like, you know, were reinvigorated me to realize there's still people out there that care about winning and care about getting better and care about playing for the school they're at and care about playing with the players they're with in this day and age when it's getting a little more selfish. That is rewarding. That is exciting. That is invigorating. I usually try to stick to 4-letter words and under, but I'm going way out of my line right now, and it was invigorating. And so who knows, you know, who knows what the future brings, but I guess for the first time they got 4 1s in the Final Four. Is that true? Second time. You know, when we went in Minnesota, my third one, I think we had 3 1s and a 2, and so that means that the people that get all the criticism, besides the coaches and the media, the selection committee must have done a pretty damn good job. Give them credit. And I do think in watching, you know, I watched some of that Houston game today, and ironically, I was hoping to get there. You know, I took Kelvin Sampson's spot at Michigan State, as weird as that sounds as a GA. And so it would have been nice to get there with him. Judd would have been looking down, complaining to both of us that we don't play any zone. But I think of Rick Barnes and the job he did. There were so many people that did a good job, and guess what? Somebody's going to go home sad. Today it's the Spartans. Next Saturday will be, you know, 2 more teams, and next Monday it'll be 1 more team. And I don't want to make it as trite as it sounds, because it's not. And if you've been in a locker room, you know, there's some locker rooms that people are bitching and complaining, and then there's some locker rooms where people are crying and hugging. It was a crying and hugging locker room, and that means that we had something special. So I'm going to appreciate that. I'm sure it'll feel better in a couple days. And I give a lot of credit to Auburn. I think they're well coached. I think they did a good job. I think Broome is the real deal. Does things kind of effortlessly. And I thought those guards didn't play as well as they've been playing. If you want the truth, that we have something to do with it or not. But you know what? As they say, when your number one guy brings it, and you know he's been around a few years, they deserve to move on. So thank you very much. Atlanta was great. Appreciate you.
Thank you. It's why we love sports. It's the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. Tom Izzo, a Hall of Fame coach. It's why we love the sport. The coaches are stars. The players becoming even bigger stars now with NIL. But Tom Izzo, 70 years old, doesn't sound like he's going to give anything up. Invigorating season. He loved this team specifically. A couple of players are going to move on for sure. He loses his first game to an SEC team in the NCAA tournament. But, man, one of the best to ever do it. Unfortunately, he's only got 1 title to show for it. But at the end of the day, he's got 1. And, unfortunately, the drought continues for the Big Ten. They have not won a title since Michigan State cut down the net some 25 years ago.